Tests are being done after an odor was detected during drilling at Fort Detrick. It's concerning because that odor is coming from an area that's been contaminated with toxins. It's located in Area B at Fort Detrick in Frederick, Maryland. Lindsay Masses has the latest tonight.
This is Area B at Fort Detrick, and this footage is from a year and a half ago when officials invited us onto the base to show us that this site was safe. It was contaminated with toxins, buried here when Fort Detrick's biological weapons program was ended in the 1970s. Robert Sperling with Fort Detrick says employees noticed the odor last Wednesday while they were installing a monitoring well, but that information wasn't released until today.
Once they smelled the odors, they stopped what they were doing and they put on protective gear. They put on a respirator.
Sperling says vapor didn't travel off base and therefore is not a threat to the community.
We had did some tests downwind and really nothing was detected past about 10 feet from the actual drill.
Rachel Pisani is with the Kristen Renee Foundation, an organization that's investigating a possible link between contamination at Fort Detrick and cancer. She says she's concerned about this latest incident.
If they have an odor that's that prominent, they can't tell me for sure that it's not toxic. They were telling us for years that everything was okay in Area B, and now we know that it's not.
Fort Detrick officials say at this time they do not know whether the odor is hazardous. I'm Lindsay Mastis, 9 News Now.
And tonight, Fort Detrick officials are still waiting for test results from water samples. They promise to release those findings when they become available sometime next.
Faculty and teachers are trying to figure out what smells in their school. Air samples came back negative for dangerous gases at Rogersville City School. But the principal says they still do not know what stinks or where it's coming from. News 5 WCYB's Megan Gorey looked into what the school is doing to find the mysterious odor.
Just as that it smells, I mean, that it's very strong odor, and I guess more like a rotten egg or a sewer gas type smell.
But Principal William Walker doesn't know what that smell is, where it's coming from, or why it's randomly creeping into second grade classrooms at the Rogersville City School.
We have had an odor in the building, and it's been there off and on. We've tried many things to try to remedy the situation.
That includes checking the crawl space for dead animals in the 57-year-old school. They also had the gas company check for any natural gas leaks. Then the school asked the city to do a smoke test.
During fall break in October, the Rogersville Water Department shut down the lines on the campus and they pumped smoke into the sewer pipes. That's when the school found the smoke coming out of a closet here in the cafeteria.
We did find a vent that was that needed to be plugged or capped, and that we think that is where at least the majority of the odors were coming from.
But that smell is still there, directly above that cafeteria. Walker says right now it's more of a nuisance than a health concern. The school did have an air sample test done to see if there were any harmful gases in the classrooms. We got a copy of the results from the W.E. Curriger Associates environmental scientists. They reported no methane gas in the air and low concentrations of hydrogen sulfide, which typically causes that rotten egg smell.
Yeah, I do believe the teachers, do smell something, but I'm not sure what it is.
For now, teachers are keeping track of when they smell that odor, how often, and what are the weather conditions outside when there's a stink in the air. In Hawkins,
that you guys sent us in, it was a credible scene as a smell, an overpowering smell of the natural gas. It's a sulfur smell that you smell with a natural gas. That additive, according to the fire chief, he was telling people around here, got extra amount of that got put in, and it started backing into some of the buildings around here, all the way up and down Route 5. People were calling in. They said they smelled natural gas. It turns out it was not actually the gas, but the additive that they were smelling, and they said there was no danger. People were evacuated for about 35 to 40 minutes, everywhere from the shopping centers here to Mid-State Medical. A lot of people concerned about that smell they heard, and it turns out tonight it was just that, a smell.
Well, things are back to normal at KU's Millott Hall today after a scare this morning prompted an evacuation. Around 10:30 this morning, someone reported a strange odor inside the building. Since this hall holds chemistry and physics classes, there was concern that it could be something hazardous. KU officials evacuated the building as a precaution and swept through it. But they determined there was nothing dangerous. They say instead the smell actually came from a floor-sealing work going on inside that building. Malott Hall was
new at noon. A hazmat scare this morning at a Miami-Dade middle school. Chopper 4 was over the scene at Jose Marti Middle School in Hialeah while the building was being evacuated after reports of an ammonia smell. At least 20 students complained of watery eyes and feeling sick. 14 of them were taken to the hospital for observation. Hazmat workers are trying to determine what caused the smell and when students and staff can return.
Students will return to an elementary school tomorrow after a mysterious odor forced an evacuation today. The odor was coming from the cafeteria at Paris Elementary School in Aurora. One staff member felt so sick she had to go to the hospital. And the mystery is solved. Firefighters now say a leaking refrigerant caused that smell.
We start with breaking news out of Fort Collins. A middle school evacuated after a strange smell makes several students sick. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Deborah Takahara.
And I'm Ron Zapolo. At least a dozen students checked out by doctors after a chemical smell started spreading through Blevins Middle School in Fort Collins. Fox 31 Denver's Tammy Vigil joins us live with the very latest information. Tammy?
Ron, you can see that Poudre Fire Authority is still on scene here at Blevins Middle School. Firefighters still trying to figure out what the odor is and where it came from. Now, about 12:30, students noticed an odor in one of the science classrooms, a laboratory. That's when students and staff were evacuated from the building as a precaution. The district then decided to close the school for the day about 2 o'clock when they realized this was not going to end quickly. More importantly, a group of students didn't feel well in the school, so they got them some help.
We had approximately 15 students that were taken to the hospital with some symptoms of illness. We don't believe that it's anything serious. It was as a safety precaution. We called all of those parents personally to let them know.
Also, an adult here at the school transported him or herself to the hospital to get treatment. So about 500 kids getting an early start to their weekend. Firefighters just went back inside the building to figure out where this odor is coming from, and they don't know how long that will take. In Fort Collins, Tammy Vigil, Fox 31 Denver.
Hey, Tam, to the best of your knowledge, the 15 kids are okay this afternoon?
That is what the official from the Poudre School District is saying, and we actually talked to a little girl, a 6th grader, who came by here, and she said she was one of the people who were transported. And she said initially she just was coughing and she was sneezing, but she's fine. She didn't smell anything either, but that little girl's fine, and she said everyone else was fine, but it was more of a safety precaution.
Okay, Tammy Vigil in Fort Collins. Tammy, thanks.